Okay, today we're going to break down the elements involved in drawing the human body. And for many of you who said to me, oh, I can only, I can barely draw a stick figure. Well, you're halfway there because I'm going to be putting this up on the screen. This is basically the formula that we have for drawing the human body. So I am going to start with the formula that scientists and artists have developed over the centuries that kind of break down the ratio. Let me go to share screen. Most humans, men are usually around eight heads tall, and women are usually around 7 heads tall. So what I want you to do first is just divide your paper into sections. And you don't have to measure it. It's just 8, actually 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you're going to need like 9 horizontal lines that are equidistant in height. So let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, and you can use the width of your ruler. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I need 9 lines that are going to create 8 sections for me. So this is, whoops, oh, I gotta tighten these up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have 8 sections. So if we start with the head, which would be up in section 1, we're going to draw an oval or an upside down egg, or an egg that's balancing on its narrow tip. So I'm going to use a darker marker so you can have heavier markers. Is it helpful to have, I'm going to keep that screen share up because I think it's helpful for you to see the graphic as we do this together. So there's my head right there in the top of section number 1. Now, what we're now going to do is to the bottom line of section 1, 1, 2, 3, to the bottom line of section 4, you're going to make a straight line. And this is going to be your backbone right there. So your backbone, your spine, is about 3 times as long as your head is tall. So again, the scientists have, and this is average. Every person might be different. I'm very short-waisted. Some people have very long torsos. This is your average human being. So your head is 1/3 high as your backbone. So your backbone will go to the bottom of section 1 down to the bottom of section 4. Okay, just about in the middle, or just when we come into section number 2, and the top third of section number 2, we're going to get that collarbone. We're going to do the shoulders. Now, most bodies, and again, all people are different, most bodies are twice as wide as a head. So if we kind of eyeball and say, okay, well, my head is 2 knuckles wide. So my shoulder on this side is going to come out 2 knuckles, and it's going, because I use my fingers a lot for measuring when I'm doing something. I say, oh, well, this one's, the length from my tip of my nasty finger to my wrist, and that might be 6 or 7 inches. I don't know. I always go by body parts. So now we have something that almost looks like that Egyptian Ankh symbol. So we know that especially men usually have broader shoulders than women, but the average person, their is usually about 2 heads wide. So if you put if this is your middle point and my head is this wide, I'm going to be a head wide this side and a head wide that side. So that could be just about right. Okay, so now to, when we have the ball and socket joint of the shoulder, I'm just going to put little circles there. The width of, or the length of the elbow will come down to about the bottom of section number 3. And that is our, what's that, the ulna? I don't know what that is, but that top bone from the shoulder to the elbow. And then our forearm will be another section down. I'm just going to put a little circle where my elbow is. And if you follow the chart, you'll see that you go down another section to make the forearms. And I'm just going to leave it there for right now because I want to go back and visit this pelvic region. So even though our vertebrae, or our spinal column goes all the way down to our coccyx bones, our hips are a little bit, or our pelvic region is a little higher than that. And that is usually about as wide as the head. Let me try to see it a little better, but not often. And usually women's hips are wider than men's. So we're just kind of drawing this pelvic region like it's, what is that, a trapezoid or whatever. Now, the legs are going to come out of these hip regions, and the legs are going to be from the hip to the knee. We're going to go down 2 sections. See how this is all broken up into equidistant sections. And then from the knee to the bottom of the foot, this person I'm purposely making them a little bow-legged so you can see where the knee is. Instead of making a straight leg, I purposely bent it at the knee to show you. So then the bottom of the foot is at the bottom of section 8, and you can just suggest a foot by making little marks like that. So now revisiting the arm, where the hand is comes a little bit below there. So you can see on our chart where the head is usually 1/8 of the length of the body, 1/8 of the height of the body. The end of our vertebrae, our coccyx bone, the bottom of our back, is the halfway point. That would be at the bottom of section number 4. And then halfway between that is the knee, which would be at the bottom of section 6. And then the bottom of the feet are the bottom of section 8. I want to look at my notes. Okay, a couple other things that happen is usually, and I wonder if it happens when I stand up. Yeah, pretty much it happens when I stand up as well. Our waistline is usually where our elbow hits us. When we stand up, my elbow's here, and this is my waist as well. So the waist on this person would be right where the elbow joint is. And again, it differs because Sometimes men have longer torsos and narrower hips than women, who often have higher waistlines and wider hips. So you would adjust this according to the person that you're drawing. Let's see, the hands are 3/4 of the way into the box. Now we're about a half into the box number 5. The hands usually, when we stand up, come about halfway to the box number 5. I know that I'm probably dating myself, but when mini skirts first came out in the 60s, and I went from parochial school to high school, and I didn't have to wear a uniform anymore. And we got sent home if our skirts were shorter than when we stood up and our hand had to be like next to our body. We'd always be like bending our elbow and hoping that they wouldn't see that our skirts were as short as or shorter than our hands. And then we can go in and start thinking about adding some meat on these bones, where if we've established a waistline and we've got shoulders, you might come in now that we have like the muscle structure, and add a little bit of a thickness to the neck, maybe some musculature. That the thighs are usually heavier than the bottom of the leg, and the calf muscle is more pronounced at the closer to the knee, and it gets more slender as it approaches the ankle. It's not a total half moon shape. So that's your basic skeleton. And I'm going to put up another screen here now that will show you. No, that's not the one. Stop share. Okay, so this is my basic body in terms of proportion and the different 8 sections. So, and we kind of filled it out a little bit, but I now want to put up this little ditty that shows us the head is an egg shape, because remember I always said it comes back to being shapes. The neck is a cylinder. The torso is 2 cone shapes, one upside down, the other right side up, connected by a sphere. So they're always thinking about shapes here. The knee is slightly lower than the tips of the fingers. Well, this one is way lower. The hands could be a little bit longer. Again, every human form is a little different. Some people have longer legs than others. The entire leg from the top of the hip joint to the sole of the foot is half of the figure, which is what we said before. The bottom of our vertebrae, our coccyx bone, is about halfway to the tip of our head to the bottom of our foot. So that is just one of the formulas that artists use when they are drawing the figure. Now, what I also want to share with you, I meant to grab that before I started class. You might often see, let me grab this thing. You might often see these kind of figures, that this is kind of like the screen I just had up here. This is a little wooden shape that is an artist's and figure to help you draw if you wanted to show the figure in motion. you could arrange this and draw from this. They sell these in art supplies stores, but oddly enough, where I found this was in IKEA, and it was in a living room display where they had like a bookcase with books and plants and photos and vases, and this was among them. And they, they sell it as an artist tool and also as a home decor item. And it really wasn't much money at all. I think it was $5 or $6. But if you want to practice the figure in motion, this is a handy little thing that you can rearrange. It's almost like the movable Barbie doll but her proportions are fantastical. They're not real life proportions. So, but she does move and bend like these figures. But to get the body in motion, not that some of our bodies can do some of these shapes that we can bring this little figure into. But it's a good way to practice also, is to put this on your desk and to move it. And also you can work from photographs. If you could have a photograph of someone going for a jump shot in basketball, and that would be good to get the movement in there. I am going to get into gesture drawing as well, but I want to stay right now with my formulas on the human, doing the human body, where we were able to break down the body into different sections. They've also done that scientifically with the face. So I'm going to make a fresh page and show you how to draw the human face. And again, this is all practice, practice, practice. The people that you see doing portraits on the boardwalk in New Jersey, or doing caricatures at a wedding or bar mitzvah entertainment, they've all been doing this a really, really long time, and they all are working from a formula or from reliable tricks and tips that they have learned over time as well. So I'm going to put up on the screen the formula that we have, that we work from. We have a couple of them. I'll put this one up first because it's the easiest. Okay, where'd you go? Here we go. Now this is a young man, and these are the proportions that we often give to children. Sometimes they're slightly exaggerated if we're doing adults or large men. I'm going to put up another one too to show you that this is also a formula. So we're going to start with an oval, like an oval that's narrower on the bottom, like you were putting an egg. You're drawing an egg with the narrower point of the egg on the bottom. And this is not perfect, as you can see, but that doesn't bother me, because this is all about the proportion. So where's my ruler? Oh boy. Okay. Now, for measuring sake, my head, my oval is 17 inches high. So half of 17 is 8.5. So at the 8.5 mark, I'm just going to draw a line so I know where my halfway mark is, just like this. I'm going to put a little hatch mark at the sides of my oval to just show where the halfway mark is. Because if you look at our handout of this young man, the from the top of the skull to the bottom of the chin. In the middle is the center of our eye. So that would be like where the center of the eye would be. And then when you, what's the word, bisect, you divide your oval in half height-wise. My oval is 12 inches wide, so the 6 point in the middle is where the middle of my face is. And that's going to be where the middle of our nose is and the little dip in the middle of our top lip. So that's the center of the face. So the width of the nose, the width of the space between the eyes is the same amount of space as the width of one of our eyes. Again, in general, some people have very large eyes, some people have wide set eyes, everybody's different. But if the eyes, if I put my eyes, if my eyes, let's say, they're probably around 2.5, then I'm going to make like the 2.5 is the space between the eyes, and then my eyes were going to be like 2.5 wide also. So I'm just putting these ellipses in for the eyes now. And this is looking kind of like an alien with just these holes for the eyes right now, just to get a proportion. So now that we've established where the center of the eye is, halfway down from the center of the eye to the bottom of the chin is where we usually see the nose, the bottom of the nose or the nostrils. So if the center of my eye to the bottom of the chin is 8, I'm going to say around here is the middle of that. That's the 4. That's the 4-inch mark if it was 8 inches. So that's going to be about where my nostrils are. Like that. I'm going to use a heavier marker so you can see it better. So again, we have a formula. Now, from the center of the eye to the top of the head is 8 inches on my chart. So half of that at the 4 mark, that's considered the hairline or the top of the forehead. So now I've got my hairline, I've got my eyes. I'm just gonna like put some pupils in there. That is the center of my eye to the top of my hairline is the same distance to the center of my eye to the bottom of my nose, like I've done there. Okay, now what we do, we have another area of division, and it's the mouth and so if we take, there's so many formulas here. If we take the hairline, the top of the hairline, and go down to the bottom of the chin and divide that in thirds. So I've got, what is it, 13, what is that? That's like 4 1/3 inches, something like that. 4 1/3. So that breaks down to be about the same thing too. That's why a way you can judge your measurements to see if you've got it. So if we go down to the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin, I want to measure that. That's about 5 inches. I'm not good at fractions. 5 inches divided by 3. I know it's less than 2. What is 5 inches divided by 3?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Could you restate the question?
What is 5 inches divided by 3?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
All right.
Could you restate the question?
All right, she's not into doing math either. Okay, so I'm going to eyeball it, and I'm just going to divide this area into thirds, because from the bottom of the nose to the bottom of the chin, if we divide that in thirds, the top third is going to be our lip division. That's where our lips divide. And the bottom line is going to be the cleft in our chin, like right here. So if that's going to be my lip line, that's where my lips divide. And the lips are usually slightly wider than the nostrils, than the nose. And again, depending on the person, your lips might be fuller, your mouth might be larger, you might have a wide nose, you might have a narrow nose. Now, the ears are from the top of the eye to the bottom of the nose. So the top of the eye to the bottom of the nose. And those are just like little, like C's, like a narrow C. If you don't want to do too much of an arc on it, because then, you're going to look like a monkey or Dumbo, or you need that surgery where it tucks back your ear flaps. And again, if this is our hairline, then you can start going back in, adding hair. Now the neck is slightly more slender. The neck usually starts on the outside of the eye. So if our eye is at the outside edge of the eye, would be where we find the neck. And again, on men, they usually have thicker necks than women. I want to put up now another variation of this facial breakdown, because I know that our time is getting tight, and you have that commitment you have to honor. So I just want to put up one more screen share that gives you the breakdown. And again, I'm sending all this stuff to you in tomorrow's follow-up email. This one also very similar kind of breakdown, where they've got it mathematically charted, which is very helpful if you're playing around with proportions. You've got your oval, our egg shape kind of thing. You got your center line, the halfway mark, and this time I'm only going to eyeball it. I'm not going to get out my ruler. So this is about halfway. So that would be the middle of my eye. The halfway point down the oval is the middle of my eye. Taking that point down to the chin, we're going to divide that in half. That's going to be the bottom of the nose. Taking that area from the bottom of the nose to the chin and just breaking that down into thirds will give us the middle of our lip line, where our lips meet. So the bow would go slightly above that line, and the bottom lip would be slightly below that line. Then we have the cleft of the chin. We've got our nose. And the bridge at the top is more narrow than the way it flares down to the bottom. From the top, from the middle of the eye to the top, halfway down point is our hairline. Some people have a more receding hairline. Some people might have a lower hairline. So you're going to get your brows in there and your hairline. And of course, if you have bangs, that's going to affect it. And the eyes come from, the ears come from the top of the eye down to the bottom of the nose. So this is all like a formula to help you gain a sense of proportion, because so many people, when they say to me they're frustrated with their drawings, it's because they don't get the proportion accurate. And that is often just a matter of measuring. Now, I'm going to take this off for a minute to show you something. It really is a real thing when you see artists draw and they might be holding up their pencil or marking tool and sliding their finger down, because you can use your writing instrument as a measuring tool. If you're drawing something in the distance and you say, okay, that person that's standing there is, let's see, they're like this tall in the distance. And then I'm going to bring it over to my page and say, okay, that person is that tall. And then we say, okay, well, then the arm's there. And okay, and you bring it over here and you make a mark. So you can just use this as your marking thing. Instead of a ruler, just draw your finger down to, okay, they're that tall, and then transfer it over to your page. I do also have a handout on doing the face in profile. And I'll send that to you as well. And again, there's a formula for that where you're starting off with an oval, again, an oval. I'm getting these alien heads. But this time we've got like our halfway mark. But now the figure is turned that way. So we've got the same kind of relationship going on where we're going to mark it like in thirds. And you got the nose coming out and the lips and the chin, and you got that whole thing happening. So I have a handout on that also that takes you through the proportions. The head will come back more that way. And then this comes. So that's why we want to start with, like a loose oval. And because I do everything in a marker, you see all my black sketch lines as well. So I'll send you all the formulas, and they are kind of like a recipe where you don't always need a ruler. You can, eyeball what is halfway, or, use your fingers or your hands to help you measure what is a third of the way up, what is a halfway up. And it comes with practice. I know that as a child, I used to love to draw ladies' faces and then draw on with colored pencils and crayons the eyeshadow and every eyelash and the lipstick. I love coloring that in and putting on big, bold earrings and necklaces. It's fun. You're building on the basic structure of forms and shapes. And that's all the drawing is putting down forms and shapes. And it's the proportion that will help. Learning proportion will help you when you want to develop a more realistic format. I know sometimes people look at some of Picasso's work, especially his Cubist paintings, where he's really manipulated the human body. And people say, oh, yeah, a kindergartner could do that or whatever. But what they probably haven't seen are Picasso's drawings from when he was 9 years old. And he really knew how to capture the human form because his father put him in art training quite early. Just like Da Vinci's dad and Tiger Woods' dad, they pimped their kid out early, browbeat them into getting that skill and that talent. And it's all about practice, practice, practice. And many artists, and I know in the first lesson I showed you the Willem de Kooning, where he is a beautiful renderer. And this was his wife, Elaine. What a beautiful, sensitive drawing that is. But these are the paintings he's most known for, are his abstract expressionist drawing, or paintings of women. So this is not the be end all. And it may, we all feel good if we can capture something realistically, but that's not what defines us as an artist. That might define you as a good renderer or someone who can capture a likeness, but not all likenesses that are captured realistically have a sense of passion or life about them. When I look at this drawing, I see that he brings so much tenderness and knowingness to this portrait, where sometimes I've seen beautifully rendered images of the human body, but they have no warmth. They don't resonate with me. They don't tell me a story. So as much as I know that most people who sign up for a drawing class want to learn how to draw realistically, but that's not the end point. You got to keep going from there, because drawing is how we see things, how we react to our world, how we choose to capture our world and get it on a two-dimensional surface. I do implore you to practice every day. And if you can't, then, try and get a couple days in a week, even if it's 5-10 minutes, it's really quite helpful. So I will be sending you all the handouts, and I'm pretty sure I have a more extensive PDF that goes into this more extensively. So you can go through it at your leisure, but keep practicing, keep drawing. And next week, on our final week, I have something fun planned. So have a good week. Thank you for your time.